The Flower Ornament Sutra, Book 38, Part 3. For great enlightening beings, there are 10 kinds of demons' actions. Cultivating roots of goodness while forgetting the aspiration for enlightenment, giving with ill will, keeping precepts with hatred, rejecting people of bad character, rejecting the slothful, slighting the confused, and despising the ignorant, being jealous and stingy with the profound teaching, not explaining it to those who are capable of being enlightened, insisting on explaining it to people without the capacity for it as long as wealth and honor are thereby available, not liking to hear about the ways of transcendence, not practicing them even when hearing about them, tending to negligence even when practicing them, becoming narrow and mean in spirit because of laziness, and not seeking supreme great enlightenment, avoiding good companions, associating with bad companions, craving personal release, not wanting to accept life, wishing for the desirelessness and tranquility of nirvana, arousing hatred and anger toward enlightening beings, looking at them with malevolent eyes, looking for faults in them, talking of their faults, cutting off their support, repudiating true teaching and being averse to hearing it, immediately criticizing it when hearing it, having no respect for those who expound it, claiming oneself to be right and others all wrong, indulging in the study of secular literature, expounding the vehicles of individual salvation while obscuring the profound teaching, or giving subtle doctrines to unsuitable people, straying from enlightenment and persisting in false paths, always liking to associate with those who are already liberated and at peace, and giving them offerings, while not being willing to approach or edify those who have not yet attained liberation or peace, developing conceit, having no respect, often troubling or hurting sentient beings, not seeking genuine knowledge of truth, being mean and difficult to awaken. These are the 10 kinds of demons' actions which enlightening beings should quickly get away from to seek enlightened action. Great enlightening beings have 10 ways of getting rid of demons' actions: associating with the wise and honoring and serving them, not elevating themselves or praising themselves, believing in the profound teaching of Buddha without repudiating it, never ever forgetting the determination for omniscience, diligently cultivating refined practices, never being lax, always seeking all the teachings for enlightening beings, always expounding the truth tirelessly, taking refuge with all the Buddhas of the 10 directions, thinking of them as saviors and protectors, faithfully accepting and remembering the support of the spiritual power of the Buddhas, equally planting the same roots of goodness with all enlightening beings. Based on these 10, enlightening beings can escape all demonic ways. Great enlightening beings have 10 ways of seeing Buddhas. The Buddha of abiding in the world, attaining true enlightenment, they see by non-attachment. They see the Buddha of vows by production. They see the Buddha of rewards of action by deep faith. They see the Buddha of preservation by following the teaching. They see the Buddha of nirvana by deeply entering it. They see the cosmic Buddha everywhere. They see the Buddha of mind by peaceful stability. They see the Buddha of concentration by infinite independence. They see the Buddha of fundamental essence by clear comprehension. They see the Buddha of adaptation by universal awareness. By these they always see the Supreme Buddha. Great enlightening beings have 10 kinds of Buddha action. Guiding at appropriate times is Buddha action because it fosters correct cultivation of practice. Causing dream visions is Buddha action because it awakens awareness of past roots of goodness. Expounding to others scriptures they have not yet heard is Buddha action because it causes growth of knowledge and resolution of doubts. Teaching the way to emancipation to those bound up in regrets is Buddha action because it frees them from a doubting mind. Manifesting the glorified body of Buddha for the sake of sentient beings with stingy minds, ignorant minds, minds interested in personal salvation, malevolent minds, doubting minds, scattered minds, or conceited minds, is Buddha action because it nurtures past roots of goodness. Widely expounding the true teaching in times when true teaching is difficult to come across, causing those who hear it to attain concentrated knowledge and knowledge of spiritual powers, to be able to benefit innumerable sentient beings, is Buddha action because the resolution is pure. If anything demonic occurs, being able to manifest a voice equal to space explaining the principle of not harming others in order to quell it, causing the awakening of understanding, and causing the majesty of demons who hear to vanish, is Buddha action because the will is extraordinary and the power great. The mind having no lapse, being constantly alert, not permitting experiential entry into the absolute state of individual liberation, and never speaking of the realm of liberation to those whose faculties and characters are not yet mature, is Buddha action because it is the performance of the original vow. Shedding all the bonds and contaminations of birth and death, cultivating the practices of enlightening beings continuously, taking care of sentient beings with great compassion, causing them to undertake such practice and eventually be liberated, is Buddha action because it does not stop the practice of the deeds of enlightening beings. Enlightening beings realize that their own bodies, as well as sentient beings, are fundamentally quiescent and null. Yet, not being surprised or afraid, they still tirelessly cultivate virtue and knowledge. Though they know all things have no creation, yet they do not ignore the individual characteristics of things. Though they are forever aloof of craving for objects, yet they always gladly behold the form bodies of Buddhas. Though they know one is enlightened into the truth without depending on another, yet they seek omniscience through many kinds of methods. Though they know all lands are like space, they always enjoy adorning all Buddha lands. Though they always observe that there is no real person or self, yet they tirelessly teach and enlighten sentient beings. Though fundamentally unmoving in the cosmos of reality, yet they manifest a multitude of transformations by spiritual powers. Though they have already accomplished omniscience, yet they practice the acts of enlightening beings without ceasing. Though they know all things are inexplicable, yet they turn the wheel of the pure teaching and gladden the hearts of all beings. Though they are able to manifest the spiritual powers of Buddhas, yet they do not reject embodiment as enlightening beings. Though they appear to enter ultimate final extinction, they manifest birth in all places, being able to perform these practices, simultaneously carrying out the provisional and the true, is Buddha action. Based on these 10, enlightening beings can achieve supreme, teacherless great action without relying on the instruction of another. For great enlightening beings, there are 10 kinds of conceited action. Not respecting teachers, parents, mendicants, people on the right path, people aiming for the right path, or honorable fields of blessings, is conceited action. If there are teachers who have attained to supreme truth, who ride the great vehicle of universal enlightenment, who know the way to emancipation, who have attained mental command, and expound the great principles of the Scriptures, to be haughty toward them or their teachings, and to be disrespectful, is conceited action. When in an audience hearing the sublime teaching expounded, to be unwilling to laud its excellence and cause others to believe and accept it, is conceited action. Habitually conceiving the illusion of superiority, elevating oneself and looking down on others, not seeing one's own faults and not knowing one's own shortcomings, is conceited action. Habitually imagining that one is better than those who are better than oneself, not praising virtuous people who are praiseworthy, and not being happy when others praise them, is conceited action. When seeing someone preach, in spite of knowing it is the norm, the rule, the truth, the word of Buddha, to despise the teaching because of disliking the person, to slander it, and incite others to slander it, is conceited action. Seeking a high seat for oneself, declaring oneself to be a teacher worthy of receiving offerings and not supposed to work, failing to rise to greet old people who have cultivated spiritual practice for a long time, being unwilling to serve them, is conceited action. Frowning unhappily on seeing people with virtue, speaking to them harshly, and looking for faults in them, is conceited action. When seeing intelligent people who know the truth, not being willing to approach and attend them, respect and honor them, being unwilling to ask them what is good and what is not good, what should be done and what should not be done, what acts result in various benefits and comforts in the long night, being foolish and deluded, stubborn and contentious, swallowed by self-importance, never able to see the way to emancipation, is conceited action. There are also sentient beings with minds shrouded by conceit, who, when Buddhas appear in the world, are unable to approach, respect, and honor them. In them no new good arises, and goodness from the past evaporates and vanishes. They say what they should not. They contend where they should not. In the future they will surely fall into a deep pit of danger, and will not even encounter Buddha, much less hear the teaching, for hundreds of thousands of eons. Though, because of having once conceived the aspiration for enlightenment, they will, in the end, wake up on their own. This is conceited action. If enlightening beings get rid of these 10 kinds of conceited action, they will attain 10 kinds of actions of knowledge. The 10 kinds of action of knowledge are believing in consequences of action and not denying causality, not giving up the determination for enlightenment, always remembering the Buddhas, attending the wise, respecting and providing for them, honoring them tirelessly, enjoying the teachings and their meanings, never tiring of them, getting rid of wrong awareness and cultivating true awareness, getting rid of haughtiness toward all sentient beings, thinking of enlightening beings as Buddhas, valuing the true teaching as much as one's own being, honoring the enlightened as though protecting one's own life, thinking of practitioners as Buddhas, being free from all that is not good in thought, word, and deed, praising the excellences of sages and saints, and according with enlightenment, not denying interdependent origination, getting rid of false views, destroying darkness and attaining light, illumining all things, acting in accord with the 10 kinds of dedication, thinking of the ways of transcendence as one's mother, thinking of skillful means as one's father, and entering the house of enlightenment with a profound, pure mind, diligently accumulating all practices that foster enlightenment, such as charity, morality, learning, cessation, and contemplation, virtue and wisdom, indefatigably cultivating any practice that is praised by the Buddhas, that can break through the afflictions and conflicts of demons, that can remove all obstructions, veils, shrouds, and bonds, that can teach and tame all sentient beings, that can embrace the truth in accord with knowledge and wisdom, that can purify a Buddha land, that can generate spiritual capacities and insights. Based on these 10 actions of knowledge, enlightening beings can attain the supreme action of great knowledge of Buddhas, including all skillful means of liberation. For great enlightening beings, there are 10 kinds of possession by demons: laziness, narrowness, and meanness of aspiration, satisfaction with a little practice, exclusivity, not making great vows, liking to be in tranquil extinction and annihilating afflictions, permanently annihilating birth and death, giving up the practices of enlightening beings, not edifying sentient beings, doubting and repudiating the truth. If enlightening beings can get rid of these possessions by demons, they can gain 10 kinds of support by Buddha. They are supported by Buddha in first being able to aspire to enlightenment, in preserving the will for enlightenment life after life without letting it be forgotten, in being aware of manias and being able to avoid them, in learning the ways of transcendence and practicing them as taught, in knowing the pains of birth and death yet not rejecting them, in contemplating the most profound truth and gaining immeasurable reward, in expounding the principles of the 2 lesser vehicles of salvation for the benefit of sentient beings without actually grasping the liberation of those vehicles, in happily contemplating the uncreated without dwelling therein, and not thinking of the created and the uncreated as dual, in reaching the realm of birthlessness, yet manifesting birth, in realizing universal knowledge, yet carrying out the practices of enlightening beings and perpetuating the seed of enlightening beings. Based on these 10, enlightening beings can attain the supreme supportive power of Buddhas. Great enlightening beings have 10 kinds of support by truth. Knowing all conditioned states are impermanent. Knowing all conditioned states are painful. Knowing all conditioned states are identityless. Knowing all phenomena are quiescent nirvana. Knowing all phenomena arise from conditions and do not come to be without conditions. Knowing that ignorance comes from wrong thought. And finally, old age and death come from ignorance. So if wrong thought is extinguished, ignorance is extinguished, and finally old age and death are extinguished. Knowing the 3 doors of liberation and generating the vehicle of hearers, realizing the state of non-contention and generating the vehicle of individual illuminates, knowing the 6 transcendent ways and the 4 means of integration, generating the great vehicle, knowing that all lands, all phenomena, all sentient beings, and all times are spheres of knowledge of Buddhas, knowing how to cut off all thoughts, abandon all grasping, detach from before and after, and accord with nirvana. Based on these 10, enlightening beings can attain the supreme support of truth of all Buddhas. Great enlightening beings have 10 kinds of activities in the heaven of satisfaction. First, they tell the celestials in the heavens of desire the principle of detachment, saying, all dominion is impermanent, all pleasures must fade and vanish, and they urge the celestials to aspire to enlightenment. Second, to the celestials of the heavens and the realm of form, they explain how to enter and emerge from the meditative and liberative concentrations. And if there are any who become attached to them and therefore regenerate views of the body, erroneous views, nescience, and so on, the enlightening beings explain true wisdom to them. If any conceive a deluded idea of purity of material or immaterial things, they explain that they are not pure and are all impermanent, and thus urge them to aspire to enlightenment. Third, in the heaven of satisfaction, great enlightening beings enter a concentration called magnificent array of light, and their bodies radiate light illuminating the entire universe. According to the mentalities of sentient beings, they preach to them in various voices, so that the sentient beings, having heard, have pure faith and are reborn in the heaven of satisfaction after death, where the enlightening beings urge them to aspire to enlightenment. Fourth, the great enlightening beings in the heaven of satisfaction, with their unobstructed eyes, see all the enlightening beings in all the heavens of satisfaction in the 10 directions, so that all the enlightening beings see each other. Having seen each other, they discuss the marvelous teaching, that is, descending spiritually into the mother's womb, being born, leaving home, going to the site of enlightenment, being imbued with magnificent adornments, and also showing the deeds they have been carrying out since ancient times, by which they attained this great knowledge and its virtues, being able to manifest these things without leaving their original places. Fifth, when a great enlightening being is in the heaven of satisfaction, the enlightening beings in the palaces of all the heavens of satisfaction in the 10 directions come and gather around respectfully, and then the great enlightening being, wishing to enable those enlightening beings to fulfill their vows and to gladden them, expounds teachings according to the states those enlightening beings should abide in, according to what they are to do and what they are to stop, what they are to practice and what they are to realize. Having heard this, the enlightening beings are very happy and freshly inspired, and return to the places where they live in their own lands. 6. When great enlightening beings are in the heaven of satisfaction, the celestial devil, lord of the realm of desire, in order to spoil and disrupt the work of the enlightening beings, comes to the enlightening beings with a retinue of demons. Then the enlightening beings, in order to crush the army of demons, abide in the gate of knowledge of skill in means of transcendent wisdom, which is included in the adamantine path, and expound the truth to them in both gentle and harsh words, causing the demons to be unable to get the upper hand. And when the demons see the sovereign power of the enlightening beings, they all become inspired to seek supreme enlightenment. 7th, great enlightening beings in the heaven of satisfaction know that the celestials in the realm of desire do not like to hear the truth. Then the enlightening beings announce in a loud voice, "Today an enlightening being is going to manifest wonders. Those who wish to see should come at once." Then the celestials, having heard this, gather in droves. The enlightening beings, seeing that the celestials have gathered, show them wonders in the palace that the celestials have never seen or heard of. Having seen these, the celestials are totally enraptured. Then the enlightening beings also produce voices in music, saying, "Benevolent ones, all conditioned states are impermanent and painful. All things are void of identity. Nirvana is tranquil extinction." They also say, "You all should cultivate the practices of enlightening beings." and should fulfill omniscience. When the celestials hear this voice of teaching, they grieve and lament and give rise to revulsion, and are all inspired to seek enlightenment. Eighth, great enlightening beings living in the palace of the heaven of satisfaction are able, without leaving their original place, to go to the abodes of all the innumerable Buddhas in the 10 directions, see the Buddhas, approach them, and pay respects to them, and reverently listen to their teaching. At that time, the Buddhas, in order to enable enlightening beings to attain the supreme state of coronation, explain to them a stage of enlightening beings called all spiritual capacities, in which all supreme virtues are attained by instantaneous realizational wisdom, and they enter the stage of all knowledge. Ninth, great enlightening beings living in the palace of the heaven of satisfaction, wishing to honor the Buddhas, use great spiritual powers to produce various offerings called extraordinarily pleasing, filling all worlds throughout the space of the cosmos, and present them to the Buddhas. When the sentient beings of those worlds see those offerings, all are inspired to seek supreme enlightenment. 10th, great enlightening beings in the heaven of satisfaction set forth infinite teachings like illusions, like reflections, pervading all worlds in the 10 directions, manifesting various forms, various characteristics, various bodies, various modes of conduct, various activities, various methods, various metaphors, various explanations, gladdening all sentient beings according to their mentalities. These are the 10 kinds of activities of enlightening beings in the heaven of satisfaction. If they accomplish these things, they can subsequently be born in the human world. When great enlightening beings in the heaven of satisfaction are about to descend to be born in the human world, they manifest 10 things. First, they radiate a tremendous light from their feet, called adornment of peace and happiness, which illumines all the miserable states in the universe. All sentient beings who come in contact with this light attain peace and happiness free from suffering, and having realized peace and happiness, they realize that an extraordinarily great person is going to come forth into the world. Second, they emit a tremendous light called awakening from the curl of white hair between their brows, illumining the whole universe, shining on all the enlightening beings they worked with in the past. Those enlightening beings, bathed in this light, know that an enlightening being is about to be born down on earth, and each produce innumerable offerings and bring them to present to the enlightening being. Third, they emanate from their right palms a great light called realm of purity, which can purify all universes. If there are any individual illuminates therein who have attained non-contamination and become aware of this light, they give up their lives. If they do not become aware of this light, they are moved to other worlds by the power of the light. All demons, false teachers, and sentient beings with opinions are also removed to other worlds, except sentient beings who are sustained by the spiritual power of Buddhas and are fit to be taught. Fourth, they emit great lights from their knees, called pure adornments, which illumine all the palaces of all the heavens. All the celestial beings in those heavens realize that enlightening beings in the heaven of satisfaction are about to descend to be born in the human world, and they feel bereaved and saddened, and each brings various flower garlands, clothing, perfumes, aromatic powders, banners, canopies, and music to the enlightening beings, and respectfully present them, and then follow the enlightening beings in their descent to birth and on till their extinction. Fifth, from their Gammadion thunderbolt-adorned, heart-enlightening beings radiate tremendous light, called symbol of invincibility, which shines on the thunderbolt bearers of power in all worlds. Thereupon, 100 billion thunderbolt bearers all gather and follow and guard the enlightening beings from their birth till their extinction. 6, from each pore of their bodies they radiate great lights, called distinguishing sentient beings, which illumine all universes and touch the bodies of all enlightening beings, and also touch the bodies of all celestials and humans. The enlightening beings and others all think they should stay there, and honor the Buddhas, and edify sentient beings. 7th, from the great jewel palaces they radiate immense light, called continuous observation, which illumines the places where these enlightening beings are going to be born. Thereafter, other enlightening beings follow them down to earth, and take on birth in the same houses, the same villages, or the same cities, in order to teach sentient beings. 8th, from the celestial palace halls, and from the ornaments of the magnificent balconies, they radiate a great light, called pure adornments of all palaces, which shines on the abdomens of the mothers by whom they will be born, and causes the mothers to be calm and comfortable, and replete with all virtues. In the bellies of the mothers there are naturally immense mansions adorned with great treasures, in which to rest the bodies of the enlightening beings. 9th, they emanate from their feet vast light called skillfully abiding. Celestials about to die, who are bathed in this light, all have their lives prolonged, and provide for the enlightening beings from their birth till their extinction. 10th, from their minor embellishments they radiate great light, called a ray of eyes which shows the enlightening beings' various deeds. At that time, humans and celestials may see the enlightening beings in the heaven of satisfaction, or in the womb, or newborn, or leaving home, or attaining enlightenment, or conquering demons, or teaching, or entering extinction. Great enlightening beings emanate countless such lights from their bodies, their thrones, their palaces, their towers, all showing various works of enlightening beings, and having shown these works, because they are replete with all virtues, they descend from the heaven of satisfaction to be born in the human world. There are 10 phenomena involved in the great enlightening being's manifestation of being in the womb. First, great enlightening beings want to develop sentient beings who are small-minded and low in understanding, and not let them get the idea that the enlightening beings are spontaneously born by transformation, and that their knowledge and virtues do not derive from cultivation. For this reason, enlightening beings appear in the womb. Second, because they want to ripen the roots of goodness of their parents, families, and those who did the same practices as they did in the past, they appear in the womb because the roots of goodness of those people will be developed by seeing the enlightening beings in the womb. Third, when the enlightening beings enter the womb, they are in a state of right mindfulness and right knowledge, without any confusion. And once they are in the womb, they remain correctly mindful without distraction. Fourth, while great enlightening beings are in the womb, they always expound the truth. The enlightening beings and major deities of all worlds gather around them, and all are caused to attain boundless spiritual capacities and knowledge. The enlightening beings in the womb have developed such higher faculties of intellectual powers. Fifth, while the great enlightening beings are in the womb, they gather great congregations, and by the power of their past vows, edify all the hosts of enlightening beings. Sixth, great enlightening beings achieve Buddhahood among humans, so they should receive the best of births, as humans. Therefore, they appear in the mother's womb. Seventh, when the great enlightening beings are in the mother's womb, all the sentient beings in the universe see them, as if seeing their own faces in a mirror. At that time, the great-hearted among the various beings all come to the enlightening beings and respectfully present offerings to them. Eighth, when great enlightening beings are in the mother's womb, all the enlightening beings from other worlds who are in their final lives come and assemble and recite a great collection of teachings called Vast Treasury of Knowledge. Ninth, when great enlightening beings are in the mother's womb, they enter the concentration that is the treasury of purification, and by the power of concentration manifest within the mother's womb all kinds of adornments of a great palace, all wonderfully fine, to which even the palace of the heaven of satisfaction cannot compare, and cause the mother's body to be comfortable and free from pain. 10th, when great enlightening beings are in the mother's womb, by their enormous spiritual power, they produce offerings called opening the pure treasury of virtue, and offer them to all Buddhas in all worlds. The Buddhas all explain to them the infinite matrix of enlightening beings' abode in the cosmos of reality. These are the 10 phenomena involved in great enlightening beings' appearance in the womb. If they master these, they can reveal extremely subtle processes. Great enlightening beings have 10 extremely subtle processes. While in the mother's womb, showing the first inspiration for enlightenment up to the stage of coronation, while in the mother's womb, showing life in the palace of the heaven of satisfaction, while in the mother's womb, showing birth, while in the mother's womb, showing childhood, while in the mother's womb, showing life in a royal palace, while in the mother's womb, showing departure from householding life, while in the mother's womb, showing the practice of austerities, going to the site of enlightenment and attaining true awakening, while in the mother's womb, showing the turning of the wheel of teaching, while in the mother's womb, showing ultimate extinction, while in the mother's womb, showing a great subtlety called infinite different aspects of the practices of all enlightening beings and the autonomous spiritual powers of all Buddhas. Based on these, enlightening beings can attain Buddha's supreme subtle process of great knowledge. Great enlightening beings have 10 kinds of birth. Birth with right awareness and right knowledge, free from folly and delusion. Birth radiating great networks of light beams illuminating the whole universe. Birth in the final existence, never to be reincarnated. Unborn, unoriginated birth. Birth knowing the triple world to be like an illusion. Birth appearing corporeally everywhere, in all worlds in the 10 directions. Birth in a body realizing omniscience. Birth in a body emanating the lights of all Buddhas and awakening all sentient beings. Birth in a body entering contemplative concentration with great knowledge. When great enlightening beings are born, they shake all Buddha lands, liberate all sentient beings, annihilate all states of misery, and eclipse all demons. Innumerable enlightening beings come and gather around them. These are the 10 kinds of birth of enlightening beings, which they manifest in order to pacify sentient beings. There are 10 reasons why great enlightening beings smile and make a promise in their hearts. They think, all worldlings are sunk in the mire of craving, and no one but I can rescue them. They also think, all worldlings are blinded by passions and afflictions, and only I now have wisdom. They also think, based on this so-called body, I will attain the supreme reality body of Buddhas, which fills all times. Then the enlightening beings, with unobstructed eyes, look all over the Brahma heavens and all the controlling heavens and think, these sentient beings all think they have the power of great knowledge. Then the enlightening beings observe sentient beings who have long planted roots of goodness and who now are regressing and sinking. The enlightening beings observe that, though the seeds sown in the world be few, the fruits reaped are many. The enlightening beings see that all sentient beings who receive the teaching of Buddha will surely gain benefit. The enlightening beings see that enlightening beings who were their colleagues in past ages have become obsessed with other things and cannot attain the great virtues of the Buddha teaching. The enlightening beings see that the celestials and humans who were in the same communities with them in the past still are in mundane states, unable to detach from them, and not tiring of them either. Then enlightening beings are bathed in the lights of all Buddhas and are even more joyful. These are the 10 reasons great enlightening beings smile and make a promise in their hearts. Great enlightening beings appear in this way to pacify sentient beings. There are 10 reasons great enlightening beings show the act of walking 7 steps: to manifest the power of enlightening beings, to manifest the giving of the 7 kinds of wealth, to satisfy the wishes of the spirits of the earth, to manifest the appearance of transcending the 3 worlds, to manifest the supreme walk of the enlightening being beyond the walk of the elephant, the bull, or the lion, to manifest the characteristics of adamantine ground, to manifest the desire to give sentient beings courageous strength, to manifest the practice of the 7 jewels of awakening, to show that the truth they have realized does not come from the instruction of another, to manifest supreme peerlessness in the world. These are the 10 reasons they show the act of walking 7 steps after birth. They manifest this to pacify sentient beings. Great enlightening beings appear as children for 10 reasons: to manifest the learning of all worldly arts and sciences, to manifest the learning of riding and military art and various worldly occupations, to manifest the learning of all kinds of worldly things such as literature, conversation, games, and amusements, to manifest the shedding of errors and faults of word, thought, and deed, to manifest entering concentration, staying in the door of nirvana, and pervading infinite worlds in the 10 directions, to show that their power goes beyond all creatures, celestial, human, and non-human, to show that the appearance and majesty of enlightening beings goes beyond all deities, to cause sentient beings addicted to sensual pleasures to joyfully take pleasure in truth, to show the reception of empowerment of Buddhas and being bathed in the light of truth. Having appeared as children, great enlightening beings appear to live in a royal palace for 10 reasons: to cause the roots of goodness of their colleagues of the past to develop to maturity, to show the power of roots of goodness of enlightening beings, to show the comforts of great spiritual power of enlightening beings to humans and celestials who are obsessed with comforts, to adapt to the minds of sentient beings in the polluted world, to manifest the spiritual power of enlightening beings, able to enter concentration in the heart of the palace, to enable those who had the same aspirations in the past to fulfill their aims, to enable their parents, family, and relatives to fulfill their wishes, to use music to produce the sounds of the sublime teaching to offer to all Buddhas, to dwell in subtle concentration while in the palace and show everything from the attainment of Buddhahood to final extinction, and to accord with and preserve the teachings of the Buddhas. After enlightening beings in their final embodiment have appeared in a royal palace, they leave home. Great enlightening beings demonstrate leaving home for 10 reasons: to reject living at home, to cause sentient beings attached to their homes to give up their attachment, to follow and appreciate the path of saints, to publicize and praise the virtues of leaving home, to demonstrate eternal detachment from extreme views, to cause sentient beings to detach from sensual and selfish pleasures, to show the appearance of transcending the world, to show independence, not being subject to another, to show that they are going to attain the 10 powers and fearlessnesses of Buddhas, and because it is natural that enlightening beings in their final life should do so. Enlightening beings use this manifestation of leaving home to pacify sentient beings. Great enlightening beings demonstrate the practice of austerities for 10 reasons: to develop sentient beings with low understanding, to remove false views from sentient beings, to show the consequences of action to sentient beings who do not believe in consequences of action, because it is natural to do so in accordance with the adulterated and polluted world, to show the ability to endure toil and diligently work on the way, to cause sentient beings to want to seek the truth, for the sake of sentient beings who are attached to sensual pleasures and selfish pleasure, in order to show that enlightening beings' effort is supreme, continuing to the very last life, to induce sentient beings to enjoy the state of calm and tranquility and increase roots of goodness, to wait until the time is ripe to develop people's immature faculties. Enlightening beings use these expedient means to pacify all sentient beings. 10 things occur when great enlightening beings go to the site of enlightenment. They illumine all worlds. They cause all worlds to quake. They manifest their bodies in all worlds. They awaken all enlightening beings and all their colleagues of the past. They manifest all the adornments of the site of enlightenment. They manifest various kinds of deportment and all the adornments of the tree of enlightenment, showing them according to the inclinations of the minds of sentient beings. They see all the Buddhas of the 10 directions. They continually enter concentration with every step and become Buddhas moment to moment, without interruption. The leaders of all creatures, unaware of each other, produce all kinds of wonderful offerings. With unobstructed knowledge, they observe all the Buddhas carrying out the deeds of enlightening beings in all worlds and fulfilling true enlightenment. By these 10 things, enlightening beings teach and influence sentient beings. 10 things occur when great enlightening beings sit on the site of enlightenment. They cause all worlds to quake in various ways. They equally illuminate all worlds. They remove all the sufferings of miserable states. They cause all worlds to be adamantine. They gaze on the lion thrones of all the Buddhas. Their minds are like space, without conceptualization. They manifest comportment as appropriate. They rest in adamantine concentration. They receive the pure, sublime place sustained by the spiritual power of all Buddhas. They can strengthen all sentient beings with the power of their own roots of goodness. When great enlightening beings sit on the site of enlightenment, 10 extraordinary, unprecedented events occur. All the Buddhas of the worlds of the 10 directions appear before them, raise their right hands, and praise them as unexcelled guides. All Buddhas watch over them and give them power. The enlightening beings, who were their colleagues in the past, come and surround them and respectfully present various adornments. The plants and trees and all insentient things bend toward the site of enlightenment. The great enlightening beings enter a concentration called observing the cosmos, whose power can cause all enlightening practices to be fulfilled. They attain a spell called oceanic treasury of supreme pure light, and are able to receive the rain from the great clouds of teaching of all Buddhas. By spiritual powers they produce superb offerings throughout all worlds, which they present to the Buddhas. They rest in highest knowledge and actually know the faculties and mental patterns of all sentient beings. They enter a concentration called well-aware, whose power enables their bodies to fill all worlds in all spaces in all times. They attain pure illumination and unobstructed great knowledge, enabling their physical actions to penetrate past, present, and future. These are the 10 extraordinary things that happen when great enlightening beings sit on the site of enlightenment. When great enlightening beings are sitting on the site of enlightenment, they manifest the conquering of demons because of observing 10 kinds of purpose, because the sentient beings in times of confusion are bellicose. Enlightening beings want to show the spiritual power of enlightening beings, to cut off the doubts of people in celestial and mundane states who have doubts, to civilize and tame the armies of demons, to cause people who like the military to come and observe demon quelling, so their minds will be subdued, to show that no one in the world can oppose the powers of enlightening beings, to arouse the courage and strength of all sentient beings, out of pity for the sentient beings of degenerate times, to show that even up to the site of enlightenment, there are still hordes of demons who come to create disturbance, and only after this does one finally manage to get beyond the reach of demons, to show that the force of afflictions is weak and inferior compared with the mighty power of great compassion and virtue, and to do what must be done in a polluted, evil world. These are the 10 reasons why great enlightening beings manifest demon conquering. Great enlightening beings have 10 kinds of attainment of powers of the enlightened. They attain the powers of the enlightened because they transcend the afflictive activities of all demons, because they fulfill all enlightening practices and master all concentrations of enlightening beings, because they fully accomplish all the far-reaching meditations of enlightening beings, because they fulfill all the pure means of fostering enlightenment, because they attain illumination of knowledge of all things and can think and analyze well, because their bodies pervade all worlds, because they can support all by spiritual power, because their utterances are equal to the minds of all sentient beings, because they are physically, verbally, and mentally equal to the Buddhas of all times, and can comprehend the things of all times in a single thought, because they attain concentration of precisely aware knowledge, and are imbued with the 10 powers of the enlightened, from knowledge of what is so and what is not so, up to the knowledge of extinction of contaminations. If enlightening beings acquire these 10 powers, they are called Buddhas truly awake. There are 10 aspects of the turning of the great wheel of teaching by truly awakened Buddhas. They are imbued with the knowledge of the four pure fearlessnesses. They produce utterances consonant with the four intellectual powers. They are able to expound the characteristics of the four truths. They accord with the unobstructed liberation of all Buddhas. They are able to provoke pure faith in the minds of all sentient beings. Whatever they say is not in vain, being able to extract the poison arrows of suffering from sentient beings. They are supported by the power of great compassionate commitment. Their utterances pervade all worlds. They teach endlessly for incalculable eons. The teachings they utter are all able to produce spiritual faculties and powers, ways of awakening, meditations, liberations, concentrations, and such phenomena. When Buddhas teach, it involves infinite such phenomena. When truly awakened Buddhas turn the wheel of teaching, by virtue of 10 things they plant pure elements in the minds of sentient beings, which are not in vain. Because of the power of their past vows, because of being sustained by great compassion, because of not abandoning sentient beings, because of freedom of knowledge able to teach according to the inclinations of sentient beings, because of unerring timing, because of according with suitability and not preaching arbitrarily, because of knowledge of past, present, and future, because Buddhas are most excellent without peer, because their sayings are free and unfathomable, because their knowledge is free, and whatever they say is enlightening. When Buddhas have done their Buddha work, they manifest final extinction because of 10 considerations. To show that all activities are really impermanent, to show that all created things are unstable, to show that ultimate nirvana is the abode of peace without fear, to show those attached to the physical body that the physical body is impermanent, so that they will aspire to dwell in the pure body of reality, to show that the power of impermanence cannot be overturned, to show that all created things do not remain as one wishes and are not under one's control, to show that all existence are like magical productions and are not hard and fast, to show that the nature of nirvana is ultimately stable and indestructible, to show that all things have no birth or origin, yet have the appearance of assemblage and dissolution. Once the Buddhas have finished their Buddha work, have fulfilled their vows, have turned the wheel of teaching, have enlightened and liberated those who could be enlightened and liberated, and have made the predictions of Buddhahood of the enlightening beings who become honored ones, as a matter of course they enter unchanging, great, ultimate nirvana. These are the 10 points of consideration, because of which they manifest ultimate extinction in nirvana. This teaching is called the far-reaching pure practice of enlightening beings. It is expounded by all the infinite Buddhas. It can enable the wise to comprehend innumerable matters and to all become joyful. It enables the great undertakings and deeds of all enlightening beings to continue. If any sentient beings hear this teaching, believe it, understand it, and put it into practice, they will surely be able to attain supreme, perfect enlightenment quickly. Why? Because they apply the teachings in practice. If enlightening beings do not practice in accord with the teaching, they will be forever estranged from the enlightenment of Buddhas. Therefore, enlightening beings should practice the teaching. This flower of definitive meaning of the points of virtuous practices of all enlightening beings enters into all the teachings, produces all knowledge, transcends all worlds, is beyond the paths of the 2 lesser vehicles, is not common to all sentient beings, can illumine all ways of entry into truth, and develops transcendental roots of goodness in sentient beings. This book of the teaching of detachment from the world should be honored, listened to, and absorbed, recited and remembered, contemplated, appreciated, and put into practice. People who can do this will soon attain unexcelled, complete, perfect enlightenment. When this book was spoken, by the spiritual power of Buddha and by the nature of the teaching, infinite worlds in the 10 directions quaked, and great light shone everywhere. At that point, Buddhas of the 10 directions all appeared before the enlightening being universally good, and said in praise, "It is very good, offspring of Buddha, how you can expound this book of transmundane principles, of the flower of definitive meaning, of points of virtuous practice of enlightening beings of the highest ranks, which enters into all Buddha teachings. You have learned this teaching well, and expound this teaching well. You preserve this teaching by spiritual power. We Buddhas all rejoice in this, and as we rejoice for you, so do all Buddhas. We Buddhas of the same mind preserve this scripture, so that the enlightening beings of present and future who have not heard it may all get to hear it." Then the great enlightening being, universally good, by the power of Buddha, looked over all the masses in the 10 directions throughout the cosmos, and said in verse, "Cultivating difficult practices for measureless eons, born of the true teachings of infinite Buddhas, causing countless beings to dwell in enlightenment, listen as I tell of the peerless deeds of the enlightening beings. Serving infinite Buddhas, abandoning attachment, widely liberating sentient beings without forming such concepts, seeking enlightened virtue, minds independent, their sublime practices I now tell. Free from afflicting actions of demons of the 3 worlds, imbued with higher conduct with holy virtues, destroying delusions, minds at peace, I now tell the path they travel. Forever free of the deceptive illusions of the world, showing sentient beings various transformations, mind arising, abiding, passing away, they manifest myriad phenomena. I tell of their abilities to gladden all. Seeing sentient beings born, aging and dying, bound and oppressed by afflictions and troubles, they want to liberate them, and so inspire them. Listen to their virtuous practices. Generosity, ethics, tolerance, vigor, meditation, wisdom, skill in means, benevolence, compassion, equanimity, and so on. They practice these for billions of eons. Hear the virtues of those people. Seeking enlightenment for billions of eons, they never begrudge their lives, vowing to benefit sentient beings, not doing it for themselves. I now tell of their compassionate deeds. To expound their virtues for countless eons would hardly amount to a drop in the sea. Their virtues are peerless, incomparable. By the power of Buddha, I now summarize them. In their minds, no high or low. They tirelessly seek the path. As they go, causing sentient beings to live in good, purifying ways. Their wisdom benefits all, like trees, rivers, and springs, and also like the earth upon which everything rests. Enlightening beings are like lotus flowers, with roots of kindness, stems of peace, petals of wisdom, fragrance of conduct. Buddha emanates the light of truth, causing them to bloom. the water of the created not sticking to them. All who see them are delighted. The tree of sublime ways of enlightening beings grows in the ground of the straightforward mind. Faith is its seed, compassion its roots, wisdom its trunk. Skillful means are its boughs, 5 transcendent ways its branches, concentration its leaves, spiritual powers its flowers, and omniscience its fruit. Supreme powers are like birds perched in it, as it gives shade to the triple world. The lion of enlightening beings has pure good ways for a body. The 4 truths are its legs. Right mindfulness is its neck, benevolence its eyes, wisdom its head, wearing the turban of liberation. In the valley of emptiness of ultimate reality, it roars this teaching and scares all demons. Enlightening beings are caravan leaders. They see living beings everywhere in the wasteland of birth and death, afflicted in dangerous places, caught by the bandits of manias, ignorant, blind, straying from the right road. Enlightening beings direct them to the right, straight road, so they may enter the city of fearlessness. Enlightening beings see sentient beings afflicted by the 3 poisons, suffering all kinds of pains, feverish, oppressed through the long night. Arousing great compassion for them, they explain many ways of curing, 84,000 kinds, to eliminate all afflictions. Enlightening beings are spiritual sovereigns, civilizing beings by the right way, causing them to avoid evil and cultivate good, and wholeheartedly seek enlightened virtue. Crowned and given predictions of supreme enlightenment by all Buddhas, they distribute the wealth of sagacity of people, the jewels of the elements of enlightenment. Enlightening beings turn the wheel of teaching just like what the Buddhas turn. Conduct is its hub, concentration the spokes. Knowledge is their adornment, wisdom is their sword. Having defeated the bandit afflictions and slaughtered the enemy demons, they put false teachers to flight whenever they see them. Enlightening beings' ocean of knowledge and wisdom is boundlessly deep and wide, suffused with the flavor of truth, filled with jewels of attributes of enlightenment. A great mind is its boundless shore. Omniscience is its tide. No sentient beings can measure it. It can never be fully explained. Enlightening beings' polar mountain goes beyond the world. Concentration of spiritual capacity its peak. The great mind rests immovable. Any who approach it are imbued with its color of wisdom. It is far beyond all realms of objects. There is no one who does not see it. Enlightening beings are like diamond, determined to find omniscience, their faith and austere practice steadfast and unshakable. Their minds without fear, they aid living beings and thoroughly annihilate all demons and afflictions. Enlightening beings' great benevolence and compassion are like layers of dense clouds. 3 superknowledges flash lightning, paranormal powers thunder, and with the 4 intellectual powers, they rain water of 8 qualities, moistening all to relieve the fever of afflictions. The citadel of truth of enlightening beings has transcendent wisdom for walls, conscience for a deep moat, knowledge as its battlements, opening wide the gate of liberation. Right mindfulness always guards it. The 4 truths are the level royal road. The 6 spiritual powers are the arsenal. The banners of the great teaching are hoisted all around. The demons of the 3 worlds cannot enter at all. The condor of enlightening beings has magic for its steady feet, skillful means for its mighty wings, kindness and compassion its clear eyes. Perched on the tree of all knowledge, it watches the ocean of existence, snatches human and celestial dragons, and places them on the shore of nirvana. Enlightening being's sun of truth rises in the world, its full orb of conduct running swiftly by psychic travel, shining with the light of wisdom, maturing the herbs of faculties and powers, destroying the darkness of afflictions, evaporating the ocean of craving. The moon of the light of knowledge of enlightening beings has the realm of reality for its sphere, coursing through ultimate emptiness, seen by all the world. In the minds of consciousness of the three worlds, it waxes and wanes through time. Among the stars of the two vehicles, it has no peers at all. The bodies arrayed with virtues of enlightening beings, spiritual sovereigns, are replete with all embellishments and marks of greatness. Looked up to by all humans and celestials, pure eyes of skillful means, a diamond scepter of wisdom, they have mastery of spiritual law and civilize beings with truth. Enlightening beings as great Brahma lords independently transcend the three worlds. They have ended all confusion by actions and are imbued with benevolence and equanimity. Everywhere they manifest their bodies and enlighten with the voice of truth. In the three worlds they uproot erroneous views. Enlightening beings as controlling celestials are beyond the realm of birth and death. Their sphere is always pure. Their wisdom never recedes, ending the path of lesser vehicles. They receive the spiritual coronation. Full of virtue and knowledge, their fame is heard everywhere. Enlightening beings' knowing mind is clear and pure as space. There is no essence, no reliance. All is ungraspable. They have great autonomous power, able to accomplish tasks in the world. Themselves embodying pure conduct, they induce others to do likewise. Enlightening beings' earth of skills benefit sentient beings. Enlightening beings' water of compassion drowns afflictions. Enlightening beings' fire of wisdom burns the brush of delusive conditioning. Enlightening beings' wind of non-abiding goes through the void of existence. Enlightening beings are like precious jewels, able to save the poor. Enlightening beings are like thunderbolts, able to smash perverted views. Enlightening beings are like ornaments, adorning the body of existence. Enlightening beings are like wishing jewels, enhancing all actions. Enlightening beings' virtues are like flowers, always producing the branches of enlightenment. Enlightening beings' vows are like garlands, always hung on the necks of sentient beings. The fragrance of enlightening beings' pure conduct is sustained, without neglect or offense. The perfume of enlightening beings' knowledge scents the three worlds. Enlightening beings' powers are like screens, able to block the dust of afflictions. Enlightening beings' knowledge is like a standard, able to defeat the enemy pride. Their sublime action is colored silk, adorning their knowledge. Conscience is clothing covering all living beings. Enlightening beings' unobstructed vehicle, they ride out of the three worlds. Enlightening beings' elephant of power is tame at heart. Enlightening beings' horse of psychic travel bounds over all existences. Enlightening beings, dragons of teaching, shower on the minds of all beings. Enlightening beings, Udumbara flowers, are rarely met in the world. Enlightening beings, courageous generals, subdue all demons. Enlightening beings' wheel of teaching is like what the Buddhas turn. Enlightening beings' lamp disperses darkness, so people can see the right road. Enlightening beings' river of virtue always follows the course of truth. Enlightening beings' bridge of effort liberates all kinds of beings. Their great knowledge and universal vows together make a sturdy ship, bringing in sentient beings and settling them safely on the shore of enlightenment. Enlightening beings' garden of freedom truly delights sentient beings. Enlightening beings' flowers of liberation adorn the palace of knowledge. Enlightening beings are like wonderful medicines, destroying the diseases of afflictions. Enlightening beings are like the snowy mountains, producing the herb of wisdom. Enlightening beings are equal to Buddhas, awakening sentient beings. In Buddha's mind is nothing else but true awakening and awakening others. Whence Buddhas come forth, thence come enlightening beings, and like the omniscient, they enter universality by knowledge. Enlightening beings skillfully lead all living beings. Enlightening beings naturally awaken to the sphere of omniscience. Enlightening beings' measureless power cannot be destroyed by the world. Enlightening beings' fearless knowledge knows sentient beings and phenomena. All worlds, forms and characteristics different, their languages and terms they can all distinguish. Though detached from name and form, they manifest various appearances. No sentient beings can fathom their path. Such virtues have enlightening beings accomplished. Realizing natures are all natureless, they have no clinging to existence or non-existence. This universal knowledge has no end and no dependence. I now will explain in order to gladden sentient beings. Though knowing the appearances of things are like illusions, all empty and null, yet with compassion and commitment and the spiritual power of Buddhas, enlightening beings by mystical projection show innumerable various things. Such qualities as this you should all hear about. With one body, they can manifest unlimited different bodies. Without mind or object, they respond to all beings. In one voice, they can utter all words. The languages of all beings they can produce according to type. Forever free of an afflicted body, they manifest an autonomous body. They know things cannot be explained, yet make various explanations. Their minds are always silent and cool, clear and pure as space, yet they adorn lands everywhere, showing all beings. They have no attachment to the body, yet are able to manifest bodies in all worlds, taking on birth according to need. Though born in all places, they do not dwell on birth. They know bodies are like space, variously appearing according to mind. The body of enlightening beings is boundless, appearing in all places, always honoring and serving the most worthy of people. Perfumes, flowers, music, banners, pennants, and jeweled canopies they present to the Buddhas, always with a pure mind. Without leaving the assembly of one Buddha, they are present in all Buddhas' places. In those great congregations, they ask about problems and listen to the teaching. Hearing the teaching, they enter concentration on each of numberless points, and likewise emerge from concentration with endless manifestations. With knowledge and skill in means, they realize the world is all illusory, yet are able to manifest boundless, illusory things of the world. They manifest various forms, as well as minds and languages. They enter the net of ideas, yet without ever clinging. Sometimes they manifest initial determination to benefit the world. Sometimes they manifest long-time practice, boundlessly extensive. Charity, morality, tolerance, energy, meditation, and wisdom, the 4 boundless minds, 4 integrative practices, and all such higher principles they may show carried to fulfillment, accepting them without false notions. Sometimes they manifest imminent Buddhahood, anointed and crowned by the enlightened. Sometimes they appear like listeners, or like the self-awakened. Everywhere in ultimate nirvana, still they do not give up enlightenment practice. They may appear as Indras or as Brahma kings, sometimes surrounded by goddesses, sometimes alone and silent. Sometimes they appear as monks, quietly taming their minds. Sometimes they appear as monarchs, ordering the laws of society. Sometimes they appear as artful women, sometimes as ascetics. They may appear to enjoy sensual pleasures or to enter meditations. Sometimes they appear newborn, sometimes young, old, or dying. Any who tried to conceive of this would be doubtful and go mad. Sometimes they appear in celestial palaces. Sometimes they manifest spiritual descent. Sometimes they enter or abide in the womb. Sometimes they are Buddhas preaching. Sometimes born, sometimes extinct, sometimes they appear to enter halls of learning. They may be with consorts or apart from society, practicing meditation. Sometimes they sit on the site of enlightenment and naturally realize true awakening. Sometimes they manifest active teaching, or they may appear as beginning seekers of truth. They may appear as embodiments of Buddha, sitting at peace in infinite lands, or they may be cultivating the non-regressive path, accumulating means of enlightenment. They penetrate countless ages and reach the other shore of them all. Infinite ages, a single moment of thought, a single moment of thought, infinite ages. All ages are not ages, but they show them as ages to the world. There is no advent and no accumulation, yet they accomplish the tasks of the ages. In a single atom they see all Buddhas. In all places everywhere, there being nowhere there is no Buddha. Lands, beings, phenomena, they see them all in order, through incalculable ages, ultimately inexhaustible. Enlightening beings know the number of living beings is vast beyond bound. All those creatures' bodies arise from measureless causal relations. As they know one is infinite, so indeed are all. According to their competence, they teach the uninstructed. They know the faculties of sentient beings. Superior, middling, inferior are not the same. They also know faculties change, and which can be taught and which cannot, and that one faculty and all faculties are mutually interrelated, and their subtle individual differences, and their precise order. They also know the mental behavior of beings past, present, and future, their inclinations and understandings, all their vexing habits. They realize all actions have no coming or going. Once they know people's behavior, they tell them the unexcelled teaching. They know thoroughly all kinds of defiled and pure conduct. In an instant, becoming enlightened, they accomplish omniscience. Dwelling in Buddha's inconceivable mind of ultimate knowledge, instantly they are able to know the actions of all beings. Having mastered the functional power of enlightening beings' spiritual knowledge, they can, in a single moment, travel to boundless lands. Going swiftly like this throughout endless ages, there is nowhere they do not reach, yet without stirring a hair. Just as a skilled magician makes all kinds of forms appear, yet one finds in those illusions neither form nor non-form. Likewise do enlightening beings use the magic of knowledge of means to manifest various forms throughout the world. As the clear sun and moon, bright mirrors in the sky, reflect in myriad waters without being mixed up by the waters, likewise you should know, enlightening beings' wheel of truth appears in the water of minds in the world, without being mixed up by the world. Just as a man in a dream makes all kinds of things and may go on for millennia without one night ending, enlightening beings dwelling in the essence of reality reveal all phenomena, and while countless eons may end, their instantaneous knowledge is endless. As in mountain canyons and in palatial halls all sounds are echoed without discrimination, enlightening beings dwelling in the essence of reality can, with autonomous knowledge, widely utter words adapted to types, also without discrimination. As one seeing a mirage and thinking it is water, chases it but finds no drink, and becomes even thirstier, so too is the case of sentient beings' afflicted minds. Enlightening beings take pity on them, rescue them, and free them. Seeing form as like clustered foam, sensations as like bubbles on water, conceptions as like heat waves, dispositions as like the pith of a plantain tree, and consciousness as like magic, manifesting various things. Thus, knowing the clusters as such, the wise have no attachments. The mediums of sense are all empty and silent, yet turn like the cogs of a machine. The elements are in essence unconnected, yet fabricate the appearance of the world. Enlightening beings abide in real truth, the supreme truth of voidness. They teach widely in many ways, yet their minds do not dwell on anything. There is no coming and no going, and also no remaining. Yet afflictive actions, the cause of suffering, continue to flow and develop. That which is interdependently originated is neither existent nor non-existent, not real or false. Thus do enlightening beings enter the middle way and teach it without attachment. They are able in an instant to manifest the minds of past, present, and future, and all the various phenomena of the realms of desire, form, and formlessness. Following the three modes of conduct, they expound the three liberations, define the paths of the three vehicles, and accomplish omniscience. They comprehend what is so and what is not, all actions and all faculties, realms, understandings, meditations, where all paths lead, recollection of past lives, clairvoyance, and annihilating all delusion. They know the 10 powers of Buddhas, but cannot yet fully achieve them. They realize all things are void, yet all always seek the sublime teaching. They are not mixed up in afflictions, yet still do not annihilate contamination. With extensive knowledge of ways of emancipation, they liberate sentient beings. In this they attain fearlessness, and do not give up cultivating their practices. Unerring, not deviating from the path, they do not lose right mindfulness. Their vigor, determination, concentration, and meditative wisdom are undiminishing. Pure in conduct, meditation, and altruism, they clearly understand all times. With great compassion for sentient beings, they are totally unimpeded. By entering these gates of truth, they accomplish such practices. I now tell a little of the sense of their arrays of virtue. Even if one told of their practices for countless eons, one would never exhaust them. Now I tell a little bit, like a mote of dust of the earth. Resting on Buddha knowledge, they generate extraordinary thoughts, cultivate the best of actions, and embody great benevolence and compassion. Heroically striving, inwardly at peace, they teach and enlighten conscious beings. Abiding by pure precepts, they fulfill practices leading to enlightenment. Able to comprehend Buddha's virtues, sentient beings, actions, and lands, they also know all ages with never a thought of weariness. With total command of differentiating knowledge, they arrive at the meaning of truth. They contemplate and explain the incomparable, peaceful, and calm true awareness. They generate the mind of universal good and cultivate the actions and vows. With the causal power of compassion, they proceed on the path pure in mind. Practicing the transcendent ways, they perfect conscious knowledge. Realizing power and freedom, they attain unexcelled enlightenment. Achieving impartial knowledge, they expound the supreme truth. Able to preserve it, endowed with sublime intelligence, they arrive at the position of the supreme teacher. Avoiding all attachments, they expound impartiality of mind. Generating knowledge and wisdom, they produce miracles and attain enlightenment. Preserving the truth through all ages, the knowers are most joyful. Deeply penetrating it and relying on it, they have no fear or confusion. They realize the inconceivable, unravel artful mysteries. They skillfully enter concentrations and see all spheres of knowledge. Consummating the liberations, they exercise spiritual insights. Forever free from veils and bonds, they roam freely in gardens and groves. Virtuous ways are their mansions. All their deeds are admirable. They cause boundless adornments to appear, their minds unmoved by the world. Observing well, profoundly intent, they can elucidate with wonderful eloquence the pure marks of enlightenment, the light of knowledge illumining all. Their dwelling place is peerless, their minds are indomitable, their will is like a high mountain, their virtues like a deep ocean. They rest in truth like treasure, wear the armor of vows, undertake great works, ultimately invulnerable. They gain the destiny of enlightenment and are steadily broad-minded. Their hidden resources are inexhaustible. They awaken to all truths. Masters of worldly knowledge, they function subtly, without obstruction. Sentient beings, all lands and all kinds of phenomena, embodiments, vows and realms, knowledge, spiritual capacities, and so on, they manifest in the world, countless hundreds of billions. Their spiritual powers and states are free. None can inhibit them. They are adorned with all works of powers, fearlessnesses, and unique Buddha qualities. Their bodies and physical deeds, their words and purified speech are under protection, so they can accomplish 10 things. When enlightening beings are first inspired, and when their minds pervade all, their senses are undistracted, and they attain higher faculties. With profound minds, overmastering minds, they get away from deception with various sure understandings. they thoroughly penetrate the world. Abandoning afflictive habits, they take to the supreme path. Skillfully practicing it, they fulfill it and arrive at omniscience. Avoiding regression, they enter the absolute and certainly realize silent extinction. Generating the path of enlightening teaching, they embody epithets of virtue. The paths of infinity, up to the paths of adornment, successively they go by these, without attachment to any. Hands, feet, and guts, with hearts of adamant, wearing the armor of sympathy, equipped with many weapons, heads of knowledge, eyes of understanding, deeds of enlightenment their ears, pure conducts their noses, they destroy darkness unhindered. Intelligence is their tongue. Their bodies are omnipresent. Higher knowledge is their mind. They cultivate their practices in action and repose. They walk on the site of enlightenment, sit on the lion throne, recline in universal goodwill, compassion, joy, and equanimity, and rest in emptiness. Their spheres of action and contemplation illumine the realm of enlightenment. Observing the acts of sentient beings, they spring forth and roar. Free from greed, they practice pure giving. Abandoning conceit, they preserve pure conduct. Never angered, always tolerant, not lazy, always vigorous, mastering meditation, wisdom uncontrived, kindly saving, tirelessly compassionate, they take joy in truth and abandon afflictions. In all realms they know meanings and principles. Their virtues are fully developed. Their wisdom is like a sharp sword. Fully aware, they delight in learning and clearly understand how to proceed. They know demons and their ways and vow to get rid of them all. Seeing Buddhas and Buddha worlds, they determine to embody them all. Free from pride, they cultivate knowledge. Not taken in by the power of demons, they are supported by the Buddhas and also sustained by truth. They appear to live in the happy heaven and also appear to die there. They appear to abide in the mother's womb and also show subtle processes. They appear to be born and smile and appear to walk 7 steps. They demonstrate study of arts and learning in the palace. They leave home and practice austerities, go to the site of enlightenment, sit straight and radiate light, alerting living beings. Conquering demons, they attain true enlightenment and turn the wheel of the unexcelled teaching. When their manifestations are alone, they enter great extinction. Those practices of enlightening beings are cultivated over measureless eons. They are boundlessly extensive, and I now tell but a little. Though they enable numberless beings to become established in enlightened virtues, they ultimately grasp nothing of sentient beings and religious principles. Imbued with such conduct, they freely exercise spiritual capacities. They place myriad lands on a hair tip, and for trillions of eons, holding innumerable lands in their palms, go everywhere without fatigue, then return and place them in their former locations, unbeknownst to the beings therein. Enlightening beings place all lands variously arrayed in a single paw, and show them as they really are. Also in one paw they contain all oceans, without increase or decrease in the oceans, and without injuring sentient beings. Numberless iron mountains they pick up and crush to dust, place each mote in one land, using up every particle, then take that number of lands and reduce them to particles too. The number of these particles might be known, but the knowledge of enlightening beings cannot be measured. Through one pore they radiate infinite light beams, the lights of sun, moon, and stars, of jewels and fire, and the lights of the gods are all eclipsed thereby. Annihilating the pains of miserable states, they teach beings there the unexcelled way, the various different kinds of speech of all worldly creatures, enlightening beings can utter in one language. They can explain distinctly, with certainty, all the Buddha teachings, causing the living who hear it to all be very joyful. All the ages of the past they place in future and present. The ages of future and present they place far in the past. They show infinite lands, burning, becoming, and subsisting, all the various worlds being in a single pore. All Buddhas of the 10 directions, past, present, and future, they clearly reveal in their own bodies. They know the methods of transfiguration and skillfully adapt to beings' minds. They manifest various bodies without attachment to any of them. They may manifest the bodies of all sentient beings in the 6 states of existence, or the bodies of Brahma, Indra, or world guardians, or the bodies of all other celestial beings, the bodies of listeners, or individual illuminates, or the bodies of realized Buddhas, or they may appear as enlightening beings, cultivating omniscience. They skillfully penetrate the web of beings' thoughts, weak, middling, and superior, and show the attainment of enlightenment and the lands of Buddhas. They comprehend the web of thoughts and gain mastery of thought. They show all the expedients of enlightening practices. Far-ranging spiritual displays such as these they show. Such realms of experience no worldlings can know. Though they produce manifestations, nothing is manifested. Ultimately, this is supreme. They adapt to beings' minds to get them to travel the way of truth. Their bodies, speech, and minds are equanimous as space. Pure conduct is their perfume. Myriad practices are their clothes. With the turban of truth, the topknot of purity, the jewel of omniscience, their virtues are all-pervasive, and they are crowned as sovereigns. The transcendent ways are their weapons, spiritual capacities their elephants, psychic travel their horses, wisdom their bright jewels. Sublime deeds are their consorts, the 4 means of integration their treasures. Skill in means are their generals, enlightening beings are the rulers. Concentration is their citadel, empty silence is their palace. With the armor of benevolence, the sword of wisdom, the bow of mindfulness, the arrows of insight, they spread the canopy of spiritual power on high, and raise the banner of knowledge. Their forbearance immutable, they break right through the devil's troops. Mental command is the level ground, spiritual practices are the rivers, pure knowledge the wellsprings, sublime wisdom the forests, emptiness the clear lakes. The branches of enlightenment, lotus blossoms, they adorn themselves with spiritual powers, always enjoying concentration. Meditation is their consort, nirvana is their food, the taste of liberation their drink. They freely employ the 3 vehicles, these practices of enlightening beings, subtly develop further as they cultivate them, tirelessly over measureless ages. They honor all Buddhas, purify all lands, and cause all sentient beings to abide in omniscience. Even if the number of atoms in all lands could be known, and all realms of space could be measured with a grain of sand, and every thought in the minds of all sentient beings could be counted, still the virtues of enlightening beings could not be fully told. If you want to be endowed with these virtues and higher subtle qualities, and wish to enable living beings to be free from suffering and always peaceful and happy, and wish to make body, speech, and mind all equal to those of the Buddhas, you should make an adamant resolution to learn these virtuous qualities.